Hi. So I'm coming to come and do a little bit of a personal share about the nature of my journey. So I'm actually going to introduce myself. I'm Dew. I'm sharing from a place of my spiritual journey. I have gone through some big shifts and changes through my life, and I do believe that the things that have happened to me in my life are very purposeful and meaningful and worth sharing. And so I'm going to do that. A lot has happened in my life over the last few years. I mean, I'm 43 now, so I've lived quite a bit of life, I'd say. I didn't have an easy upbringing. I didn't have an easy marriage. I was, I had difficulties in relationship for a long time. And I kind of did life. Certain aspects of life that I kind of just I felt frustrated and with. Didn't understand all of why things needed to feel so hard. Everything feels like so I'm dragging myself through life. I felt like that a lot. And I don't necessarily think I made it look like that necessarily, but it definitely felt like that a lot for me. There were a number of shifts, and I mean, I'm talking about a line in the sand where you just know you're not the same anymore, that kind of shift. And things like that, obviously, they've happened throughout my life. I had tragedy in my family from the time that I was a young girl. For me, one of the big moments in my life as an adult person, in any case, was having my kids. It changed me. It made me nicer. I always think it softened me. I cried more easily after I had children. Not for anything specific. I cried for an advert that was like a little bit soppy. I became like that, soft-hearted. But it's almost like I got to tap into a truer version of me. I thought I changed, but I think layers of hardness fell off me, actually, is what happened. Another one of those moments, I think, was COVID. As an introvert, and I think any introvert out there would agree with me that it was a real blessing in and amongst the turmoil and the strife and the pain that we were going through as humanity. For every introvert out there, I think we got an opportunity to charge our batteries like we've never charged our batteries before. Oftentimes, I think the introverts are also the highly sensitive. Not always, I get that, but oftentimes highly sensitive, empathic. And if you fall in that basket of individuals and you're an introvert in any case, then you had an opportunity to actually charge your batteries sufficiently to be able to almost take that those levels of feeling and almost hone them in a way that maybe under normal circumstances you can't, because you're always so drained because of how deeply you are feeling. I think if you're an introvert out there, you potentially understand what I'm saying. And again, the nature of the introvert and the extrovert, I'm not focusing specifically on the introvert for any specific reason outside of the fact that the world is built for the extrovert. We are always in contact with one another. That's how things have been. You go to work, you're always seeing people all the time, and then you go home, and the time that you spend at home generally is not enough time to recharge the introvert before they need to come back into the workspace and be around people again. And the introvert energizes through being alone. And the extrovert energizes by being around people. So we manage to re-energize differently. But the world is, as I'm saying, built for the extrovert. And so what COVID did was give the introvert an opportunity to do some recharging, which was, for me, a different blessing. I just looked after myself in a different kind of way, because I could look after different aspects of myself. I did a lot of work on myself, especially physically, that year. And then when it got to the end of that year, myself and my sister decided to do this challenge. I've spoken about this challenge before, but it was the Heart 75 challenge, and it's 75 days where you take out all the stops and you go hard on trying to shift something. Some would say it's it's a physical challenge that you could lose weight and you could become stronger body, but it's a mental challenge as well. So the requirements is that you drink almost 4 liters of water. I don't know if it's 2 gallons, I can't remember. You read 10 pages of a self-enriching book. You take progress pictures of yourself every day. You work out for 90 minutes every day. The way the challenge worked is that you needed to do 1 indoor workout and 1 outdoor workout. We shifted that for ourselves. We only worked out indoors. To eat clean, so you cut out all the nonsense. You eat clean for the 75 days. No cheat meals. I think there's another thing I don't remember, but that was the list. And we made a concession here and there. Like the one was that we kept both our workouts indoors. It was just not necessarily the safest thing for us to be able to just work out twice a day and one of them be outdoors, and so it wasn't an option. Outside of that, we tried to stick as far as possible to the list. The way the challenge actually works is that if you miss anything on any of the days, you start from day 1 again. We didn't do that, even though there was a miss here and there. Outside of that, this challenge shifted me. During that challenge, I read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and I saw my ego. I saw my ego so clearly, and I couldn't unsee it. It was running my life, you know. Every judgment and projection that I've ever made landed up just being me. I saw myself as the creator of my own reality. I saw how I was, the person responsible for my life, the way my life was. And I was only seeing small aspects, the obvious things that I was willing to see at that point in time. But it's like I couldn't unsee it. And, your ego is the voice in your head. The ego is the one that's always telling you, making up stories. Whether you have an encounter with somebody, and when you walk away from the encounter, you start questioning the encounter. Like, how were you perceived? You start making up stories about the way the interactions went. You're ruminating. You're thinking people are thinking about you more than they're thinking about you. You pain. You suffer. There's a lot of suffering in the ego because there's a lot of attachment in the ego. Everything matters too much with the ego, and it shifts all the time depending on, if it can trip you up, it will trip you up. So it can whisper, it whispers in your ear in different kinds of ways, but every whisper is almost to challenge you, and if you're not in awareness of it, then you are run by it. It's like a program. It's almost like, and I've been thinking about myself like this, like we are technology, we are part of the ether. And it's like the ego is a program that we've all got slotted into our motherboards, and we are running on ego. And we can override it. We can become aware of the fact that it's there, and we can almost, move around. We can move around it. We don't have to run through it. Running through it is almost like it's an automatic process, but it's detrimental to the system at large. And when you start bringing awareness to it, you're actually able to almost override the ego, and you make better decisions because of it. But you can't do it if you're not aware of its existence and the fact that it's running in the first place. And many people don't realize that their lives are being run by the ego. The ego is the thing that tells you that you needing to prove yourself at a superficial level and on the surface level. And it's also the reason why it doesn't matter how much you achieve on this surface level, you're never quite satisfied, because it keeps planting more seeds about what more you should be achieving, and you can actually never appease the ego. So it's a sneaky little creature. It prompts you to do, and then it tells you it's still not enough, and it will do it into infinity if you don't become aware of it. A little bit about the ego, but once you see it, and you start bringing awareness to it, your life changes. Your life changes if you can catch it, but you need the awareness to catch it. Otherwise, it's of no consequence. To know it's there, and to find yourself at the end of every day kind of going, fuck man, it fucked me up again today. But I think once you know it's there, something will start shifting within you, naturally almost. The challenge within itself was phenomenal, because what the challenge did was it kind of shook something in me. There was almost a reset that happened, and it's something worth doing. I think, challenge yourself, take yourself out of your comfort zone. And then reading that book, and I read a number of books through that those 75 days that shifted me. But I think one of them that shifted me the most was definitely this book, and another one was the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, which made me to see death in a different kind of way. Revisiting death was such an important aspect of my shifts. It was such a looking into death changed me in ways that I would not even have imagined death could change me, because I've experienced death. Both my parents passed away many years ago. People died in my life. When I was younger, my father used to do weird things. He used to like take us out of school to take us to funerals of people that we didn't even know. Come, we're going to another funeral. Then we'd go to the funeral. We'd never stay for the wake, but he would take us to the funeral. An opportunity for us to be in a church, I suppose. So I was always very aware of death, but death never felt comforting. Death was always quite death, And reading this book shifted my thinking about death, and I also started exploring near-death experiences. I don't have any obsession with death, but when I listened to Anit Moorjani's near-death experience, it is one of the most beautiful stories. And if you don't know the story of Anit Moorjani, go and find it on YouTube and just listen to her tell her story about what happened when she passed. She lost consciousness, complete life. She was dying of cancer, and she crossed over, and she had died for all intents and purposes. But there was an aspect of her that stayed aware in awareness, and she fundamentally comes back. That's why the near-death experiences, that they live to tell the tale. And it's not only hers. Anybody who's had a near-death experience lives to tell almost a very similar, beautiful, beautiful story about what actually lies in the beyond. So yeah, if you want to do yourself a favor and give yourself a little bit of an inkling of what it must be like on the other side, definitely go and listen. And if you're going to listen to one only, make it Anit Moorjani's story. Death came into focus for me in a new way. I'm going to leave the story here for now. And I want to almost invite you to go and find the story of Anit Moorjani. I'll leave a link for her. I'll maybe tag her in the caption. And if you're interested at all in what this journey even means, I'm on an awakening journey. We all are on awakening journeys. We are realizing that there's something about what we've been told that's not 100% true. And it's a scary journey to be on. It's a scary journey to be on, especially when you're alone and you don't actually know if anybody else is feeling what you're feeling. If you're questioning your reality, you're looking at things and kind of going, and COVID was a moment like that. With COVID, you're just like, how did we even land there? We were dying in droves. We live in the 21st century. Like, how did that happen? To start questioning the reality of things, because we always thought things were one way, and then suddenly there's this pandemic, and we just like allow them to save us. Yeah, I said what I said. And I think just starting to question your reality a little bit more than you are. Don't take everything at face value. It's too easy. Are you still feeling shoved into the box that they gave you when you were born? We all get given boxes when we are born, and we try our best to shove ourselves into those boxes to be palatable and to fit in. We're not supposed to fit in. We're not supposed to fit in. We are each unique. We are each a unique expression of God. Life is expressing itself through us individually, and you bring the most juice to the story when you bring the truest version of yourself. And that means going against the grain, not caring so much about what people think, doing your own fucking thing because you can, and supporting people who are living more authentically. And And if you're triggered by somebody who's seeming to show up too authentically, ask yourself why. We won't be so triggered by people who live authentically if we are living authentically ourselves. I know that feeling of looking at somebody living their truth more than I am and being annoyed about it. How dare she? How dare she not? How dare you not? Because I was listening to this comedian and I was thinking to myself, what they do is they're expressing themselves, the way they perceive the world through their humor. And each of us has the gift of expressing how we are witnessing and experiencing the world through our own unique perception of it. Each of us perceive the world through unique eyes. We don't see the world exactly the same way. And we can kind of go, yeah, but we do. But that's the box, The box tells you that green looks like that. But if we actually saw the world through each other's eyes, we'd probably be so surprised. Because we've each been chosen to live and experience God through our own unique expression and perception. There's a reason there are many of us. And there's a reason why that process of getting you into a box feels quite uncomfortable. The scholastic programs are just like, when children aren't fitting into it, and more you see children are not just able to do the things academically. Why? Because there's almost this freedom in which they're wanting to almost navigate the world naturally, and it's like no, don't try and shove me into a box. Why would you do that? And they back away. They back away from it in a different kind of way, and the backing away from the box is actually a good thing to do. It makes life a little bit trickier, I suppose, in the conditioned way of thinking in the system, if we want to call it that. But to step away from that box is meaningful. There's a lot more reward away from the box than there is inside the box. Soul reward. You come to a place where you rely on God and soul a lot more when you step away from the box, because you realize that you can't. It's not really you, because the ego makes you believe that you're doing it. It's not the thing that the ego is doing all the time. I'm doing it, and we forget that actually we are reliant on, and we doing so much more than we need to do, because we are not living in a state of surrender. I'm gonna leave it here for now. I'm gonna be sharing some more of my story. I am going through a process of problem solving this thing. I tapped into something, and I know that there's a more beautiful truth here than we've been led to believe, and we are all able to access it. There's a more beautiful way of being, and the problem solver in me is in it for the ride. I'm here for it, and I'm going to talk about the mechanisms and ways in which I have managed to touch a state of being that I believe is worth sharing and talking about. I'm excited about it, and I should be. And so I'll say, bear with me, humor me, listen to my story. You may get something from it that may be of interest to you. You maybe want to ask me a question and explore down an avenue that maybe you haven't before. It's beautiful. It's where you feel closer to God and something that's greater than you. You feel more oneness and peace and love. It's a place where God resides. And you won't be able to not say it, because you will feel overwhelmed by it.